So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be going through the AQA GCSE Foundation June 2019 paper 2, which is a calculator paper. So let's get started on this June 2019 Foundation GCSE paper 2 calculator paper. So let's have a look at the first question. So the first question says circle the number that is 1 less than a cube number. Now to do this, all we need to do is simply add 1 to each of these numbers and see which one gives us a cube number. So here 20 plus 1 is 21, 23, 25 and 27. Now because we're looking for a cube number, the correct answer is going to be 26 because 25 is a square number. Now question 2, it says circle the fraction which is equal to 0.25. So again, all we're looking for is a quarter, which we can't see, so therefore the quarter must be hidden in an equivalent fraction. So we can't simplify 1 over 40, we can't simplify 2/5, so the only two it could possibly be is 3 over 12 or 4 over 100. Now this one is the correct answer because that does simplify to a quarter, whereas this one simplifies to be 1 over 25. So our correct answer there is 3 over 12. Question 3, it says here is a number line and it says which number is at A. Now you can see that 1 in terms of 4 minus 3 is split up into 5 sections. So 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. So that means that this line is going up in 0.2s, in which then you can accurately see that A is going to be 3.6, which is our third option. Moving on to question 4, it says how many millimeters should I say, are equal to 3.27 meters. Well, what we want to do here is 3.27 meters. If we want to convert that into centimeters, I multiply it by 100, and then if I then want to convert centimeters into millimeters I should say, then I need to multiply it by 10. So what I need to do here is on my calculator do 3.27 times 100 times by 10, and the answer it gives me is 3,270. So the answer is going to be our third option. Moving on to question 5, it says that which is longer, 3/4 of a day or 1,000 minutes. Now for this, what we need to do is, and I would say this is just one of the methods you could choose, is recognize that one day is 24 hours. So 3/4 of 24, and I'll just put hours so you can see where the 24 resembles. So again, all I've got to do is do 3/4 times 24, and again I can do that on my calculator or you can do it in your head, but that gives me 18, so that's 18 hours. Now here what I want to do is convert 1,000 minutes into hours. So how do I do that? Well, all I've got to do is divide by 60. So on my calculator, which is back again, we do 1,000 divided by 60 and we get the answer of 16.6 hours. So 16.6 recurring hours. So from this, which is longer? Well, 3/4 of a day is going to be longer. So that's all we need to write here. Oh, if I can spell day, which I clearly cannot. Well, there we go. So moving on to question 6a, it says use your calculator to work out this calculation. Give your answer as a decimal, write down your full calculator display. So let's have a look. Hope that this calculator does give me the correct answer. I use my fraction button, then 9.75 to the power of 3, and then that's all over 1.875, and scroll across to plus 6.4 squared, and that gives me an answer of 535 point, and let's get the calculator back, 285. Done. Now in terms of question 6b, it says is your answer in part A sensible? Check by rounding each of the components of this to nearest whole number and then show you're working out. So for this, 9.75 is going to be rounded to 10, so that's going to be 10 cubed over 2, and if we round this 6.4 to nearest whole number, that's going to be 6, so that's going to be plus 6 squared. Now if I type this into my calculator, which is going to give me 10 cubed over 2 roll across plus 6 squared gives me an answer of 536. So going back to the question, is your answer in part A sensible? I would say yeah, it is. Now in terms of, we do need to actually tick, so go for sensible. And again, the reason for this, again, for 3 marks, I would say that's pretty generous. So for this, you could say as 536 is very close to 535 point, the answer 285, and that should be the icing on the cake for that one. Now moving on to question 7, which looks at a bank statement. So for this question, what we need to recognize is that credit is where you are getting money, debit is where you are losing money. So credit is money going in, debit is money going out. Now from this we can see that our starting balance, well, if we're spending 189.36, then the previous balance is what I then need to do is I'm going to need to add that. So here I've got 72.09 plus 189.34, and that gives me an answer of 261 and 43 pence. So 261.43. I don't need to worry about the pound sign because it's already given to me in the title. Now in terms of the next amount, so here what I want to see is I get some credit coming in. So my balance has gone from £72.09 to £86.75. So for this, all I need to do is take away the two numbers. So 86.75 minus 72.09, and I get the answer of £14.66. So that is what has been added. And then finally, for the closing balance, what I need to do is add this amount to this. So add these two numbers here. So again, on my calculator, 1430.29 plus 86.75, and I get the answer of 1517.04. There is my final balance. For question 8, so question 8 says the interior angle of a regular pentagon is 108. Work out the sum of the 5 reflex angles at the vertices of the regular pentagon. So what I need to do is I need to work out what each of these angles are and add them together. So again, add, sum means add. So obviously what I recognise is that angles around a point all add up to 360. So one of these angles, so just pick this one, is going to be 360 take away 108, which then gives me an answer of 252. So that's the size of one of the angles. Now because I've got 5 of them, I need to multiply that by 5. So again, reaching for the calculator, 252 plus, times 5 equals, and it gives me 1260. And there we go. Now the next question then says that Omar asks Harry, how many lines of symmetry does a pentagon have? Harry assumes that it is a regular pentagon and his answer is 5. So the question's asking us to draw the lines of symmetry. Now in terms of drawing the lines of symmetry, you do need to make sure that you are using a ruler. So again, make sure that it's accurate as possible. Now this could be a disaster in weighting. So one of my lines of symmetry is going to be, I think I might have to go freehand because this is not behaving. So in terms of one of the lines of symmetry, now imagine, let's just assume that these lines are straight and drawn with a ruler. Another one is going to be here. Another one is going to be here. So all I'm going is I'm going through each of the vertices. The other one is here, and my final one, which should go through all the points. Now again, just make sure that all those lines cut through each of the vertices, so each of the corners, and obviously has a massive little star effect in the middle. Now again, if you did dotted lines or you do straight lines, that would be absolutely fine. Question 8c then says that Omar then says, what if the pentagon wasn't regular? For a pentagon that is not regular, what is true about the lines of symmetry? So again, not regular means that not all the interior angles or the sides are going to be the same. Now in terms of the correct answer for this is that it could be 0 or 1. Now it does actually say tick, so let me get rid of that cross. I'm sure they wouldn't penalise you if you crossed it, but that's the correct answer for that one. Now moving on to question 9, which looks at a frequency diagram, or frequency tree as it's sometimes known as, and I can see that the paper has reset, so let's just go back to question. There we go. So the question says that 56 customers pay satellite television. They all have the basic package, which is £24.50 per month, which is pretty cheap, I'll be honest. Some also have the sports package for £27.50 extra per month, and some have the movie package, which is £18 extra a month. The frequency tree shows the number of customers for each of the packages. So let's await what the questions ask. So first question says, in total, how much per month do the 56 customers pay? So for this, in terms of how much each pays, well, here we've got 4 different categories. And so from these, what we need to do is work out what each of these 4 groups have and then add them together. So for this, now this is the quantity. So these numbers in the final movie box, we're just going to multiply them. So the basic package is £24.50. Now if they have sports, it's going to be another plus £27.50. And if they don't, then it's just 0. Then if they have movies, it's going to be plus £18. If they don't have movies, it's 0. So this is what I then need to add up. So for the first one, it's going to be 14 times, and then it's going to be £24.50 plus £27.50 plus £18. And again, if I work that all out on my calculator, where are we? There we go. So we've got £24.50 plus £27.50 plus 18 equals, multiply that by 14. So 14 people are paying £70 a month, and that comes up to a total of 980. Now for this second option, we need to go for £24.50 plus £27.50, because they're the ones that haven't got the movie channels. So again, I need to multiply this by 7, because there's 7 people that have this package. So again, on the calculator, £24.50 plus £27.50. Now again, I don't really have to have the 0 after the 5, but just making it perfectly clear so you can see what I've done. Multiply that by 7, and we've got 364. Then for the third option, so this, what we need to do is add £24.50 plus 18, and there are 8 people with this package, so we need to multiply that by 8. So again, on the calculator, £24.50 plus £18, and we're going to multiply that by 8, in which we get 340. And then on the final one, which is going to be £24.50 plus 0 plus 0, so that's just £24.50 times by 27, so 27 multiplied by 24.50 equals, and that's £661.50. So now what I need to do is just simply add those 4 amounts up. So here the grand total, so the total is going to be where I add up all of those 4 numbers. So again, on the calculator again, so I've got, oh, it's not loading up, and 980 plus 364 plus 340 plus 661.50 pence, and that comes up to a grand total of £2,345 and 50 pence. And there is my final answer. Now for question 10, it says that Zoe is thinking of a number. 3/10 of 90 equals half of her number. What number is she thinking of? Now the first thing we need to do here is work out what 3/10 of 90 is. Now of in maths means times, so if I just type this into my calculator, 3/10 times 90, I'm going to get an answer of 27. Now 27 is half of her number, so what I then need to do is multiply that by 2, and I get that her number is going to be 54. Then moving on to question 11. So again, it says on a journey, Laura sees 30 vehicles. Each vehicle is a car, a van, or a lorry. She draws this bar chart. So the question is what some criticisms of this bar chart. So from this, and again, there's going to be possibly several options we can pick from, but I would say that the most common are that the bars don't have equal widths. So the bars do not have equal spaces, in which they should do in a bar chart. And the second one, let's have a look, is the fact that there's 14, we've got 4, and we've got 10. And as you can see, if there's 30 vehicles, these bars don't add up. So the bars do not, I should say the frequency, the total frequency, do not add up to 30, because it only goes up to 28, so she's missed out 2. Again, we could have that the letters used instead of words, so again you could possibly be allowed that. It's a bit harsh, obviously CVL, I would probably allow it, but on the mark scheme it does say that she should have used words rather than letters, but again we can go from there for the 2 marks. Now for question 12, it says that a drawing has a scale of 1 to 40. On the drawing, a bedroom is a rectangle measuring 10 centimeters by 18 centimeters. A kitchen has an actual area of 300,000 centimeters squares. Which has a bigger area, the kitchen or the bedroom? Now for this, what we need to do is look at this. So looking at this scale, what this scale actually means is that in a diagram, 1 centimeter would be equivalent to 40 centimeters. So for this, what we need to do is look at what the lengths are going to be. So the dimensions of the room, the dimensions of the bedroom is going to be 10 centimeters, which if I multiply that by 40 is going to be 400 centimeters, and 18 centimeters multiplied by 40 is going to give me, and I'm just double check on my calculator to make sure that we don't bodge this up, equals 720. So then to work out the area of the bedroom, what I've got to do is do 400 times 720. So again on the calculator, 400 times 720, and that gives me an answer of 288,000 centimeter squared. Now again, comparing the two, so if I just highlight 300, which is the kitchen, and 288,000, we can see here that the kitchen has a bigger area. And there we go. Now obviously we need to make sure that all of this working out is in the correct area, make sure that it is in the correct space. We just need to put that there. Now moving on to question 13, it says here are 2 similar shapes, A and B, and it says the length of edges in A to the length of edges in B is in the ratio of 2 to 5, and the perimeter of A is 210 millimeters. And the question is asking us to work out the perimeter of B. Now this question is a bit sneaky, and the reason for that is because in the description of the ratio it talks about length and then it moves on to the perimeter. And you might be thinking, well, hang on a second, how am I then supposed to work out what the perimeter of the shape is in terms of the length? Well, the key thing to remember is that the ratio refers to distance, it refers to length. It doesn't matter what the length is that the length of A is always going to be the ratio of B to 2 to 5. So looking at this ratio, so if I just have A to B and I've got 2 to 5, so it says that the perimeter of A is 210. So that means that 210 millimeters equals 2 parts. So therefore one part is going to be 105 millimeters. Now to work out the primitive b, all I then need to do is work out what 5 parts are going to be. Now how do I do that? Well, all I need to do is just multiply this number by 5. So I've got 105 times by 5, which gives me the correct answer of 525. So looking at question 14, it says that 135 passengers are on a plane, 3 passengers are in business class or flying for the first time. In total there are 15 passengers in business class. A quarter of the passengers not in business class are flying for the first time. And it says in the Venn diagram we need to represent the data. Now this little funny little E symbol just basically means that we're talking about, describes the population. So we're talking about passengers on a plane, and they could be either in one of 4 sections. So they either could be in business class, first class, both, business class, flying for the first time, or both, or just flying economy or whatever classes they've got, basically not business. So looking at the information, we know that when we add up all the numbers, they all need to add up in the Venn diagram, they all need to add up to 135. Now, when you are completing a Venn diagram, you always want to start in the middle. Now, do we know the number of first-time flyers who are flying business class? Well, yes, because we're told that that is 3. Now, looking at the next bit of information, we know that there are 15 passengers in business class. So the business class circle, if I just poorly highlight it, this needs to all add up to 15. So if the middle bit is 3, then we've got 12 left. Now from this, what we need to now do is find out how many passengers are not flying business class. So not flying business class, well, that's going to be 135 minus 15, which gives me 120. Now of this 120, a quarter of them are not flying business class. So a quarter of 120 is going to be 30. So that then means that 30 people are flying first class, and therefore the rest are not flying business class and not flying for the first time. So that there is our completed Venn diagram. So moving on to question 14b, it says one passenger is chosen at random, like they always are, although a bit controversial when it comes to talking about plane. Write down the probability that the passenger is in business class. Now for this, what we want is the total number of people in business class, which is 15. And we're going to write that over the total number of passengers. Now for this question, because it's only worth 1 mark, we can write it like that, or we can simplify the fraction. And again, you don't need to worry about manually being able to simplify the fraction. We can use our calculator to do that for us. So if I just type in 15 divided by 135, press equals, it's already simplified it to give me 1/9. For question 15a, we've got that the line has the equation of y equals x plus 3. It says write down the coordinates of the point that intersects the y-axis. Now when we think about the y-axis, let's have a look at what the x-ordinate is going to be. So here on the y-axis, what is the value of x? Well, it's going to be 0. So here on the y-axis, x equals 0. So if I made x equals 0 in this, what I'll end up with is 0 plus 3, which is going to be 3. So the coordinate is going to be 0, 3. The next question then says write down the coordinates of the point that intersects the x-axis. Well, that's going to be the complete opposite. So when it hits the x-axis, y equals 0. So here, if I change that to 0, now again, looking at this equation of y equals x plus 3, well, if y equals 0, what would x equal? Well, what plus 3 equals 0? Well, x, if I take the 3 over to the other side, I end up with minus 3. So question 16 says that the graph below is used to convert between temperature in degrees Fahrenheit and temperature in degrees Celsius. Now the first part is asking us to use the graph to convert 40 degrees Fahrenheit into degrees Celsius. So in terms of this, what we need to do is to find 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a vertical line until it touches that curve, and then I need to read the horizontal value, which is just there. Now in terms of this, I would say that the acceptable answers are any number between 4 or 5 in terms of how your reading is, but you definitely need to ensure that you are showing and drawing the lines that going up and across. As soon as it hits the line, then go across to read whatever the value is on the vertical axes. And the next part says 1 temperature T, the number of degrees Celsius is double the number of degrees Fahrenheit. The graph of C equals 2F can be drawn to help find this temperature. So 16b is asking us to find this, complete the table of values and use this. Now, so what we need to do here, now we need to make sure that our values of F go from minus 25 to 25. So let's stick 25 in there and let's just go for the number that's in the middle. Now again, you could pick absolutely any two numbers of F, whichever you float your boat. So here what we're going to do is use the formula. So we're going to find out C, we just need to double the number in the F column, an F row, so I say. So 0 times 2 is 0 and 25 times 2 is 50. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot these 3 coordinates on the graph above. So here I've got minus 25, 50, which is about there. Then I've got 0, 0, and I've got 25 and 50, which is just there. Now what I then need to do is with my ruler, I just need to draw a line through those. So let's just do just that. Hope that it's not that bad. Now, when you are drawing this line, you do need to make sure that it touches the edge of the graph grid. And again, it is part on the mark scheme that we do actually, your line actually does do that. So just make sure that it crosses the graph. Obviously, it doesn't go onto someone else's paper or the desk, but there you go. So the next part then says, use the graph to estimate the value of T. Give your answer in degrees Celsius. Now, for this, what we need to do is find where the 2 points intersect. Now they intersect at this point here. Now what we're wanting is we're wanting the value of C. So all I'm wanting is the C ordinate. And if I scroll across, that value there is what the answer for C is going to be, which I make out to be about minus 24. So the answer I'm going to put here is minus 24 degrees Celsius. So looking at question 17, it says that in a bag there are 10p coins, 20p coins and 50p coins. There are 2 fewer 20p coins than 10p coins, and there are 5 more 50p coins than there are 10p coins. And question 17a says complete the table. So here, if 10p there are n number, then obviously we've got 2 less, so that's where it says 2 fewer. So 2 fewer has meant minus 2. So then 5 more, which is stated there, is simply going to be n plus 5. Now the next question then says that altogether there are 60 coins. Work out the total value of the 20p coins. Now for this, what I need to do is I need to work out what n is first. So we need to find n. Now how do we do that? Well, we add all the expressions up. So we've got n plus n minus 2 plus n plus 5, and that all adds up to 60. Because we've got 60 coins. Simplifying all of this, we get 3n plus 3 equals 60. And then we've got 3n minus equals 57. And then if I just divide 57 by 3, that should give me what n is. So again, I'm going to reach for my calculator and do 57 divided by 3, which equals 19. So there are n equals 19. Now to work out the 20 pence, I've got to work out how many 20 pence coins there are. So 19 take away 2 is 17. So that means there are 17 20p coins. Now the question is asking us to work out the total value. So what we need to do is do 17 multiplied by 0.20. So we can have our answer in pounds. If we wanted to work it in pence, we just do 17 times 20. But again, reach for my calculator again, and we're going to type in 17 multiplied by 0.2, and that gives me an answer of £3.40. So it's £3.40. Now remember, if you do work it out as 340 pence, then make sure that you do convert it, because it does say, or it symbolises that we want the answer in terms of pounds. Now for question 18, it says that a force of 180 newtons is applied to a surface of a triangle. It says work out the pressure, and it says that to work out the pressure we need force over area. Now the force has been told, so we've been given that the force is 180. So F this number here is going to be 180. So what I now need to do is work out the area of the triangle. Now to work out the area of a triangle, the formula is base times height divided by 2, or half base times height, whichever floats your boat. So for this I've got 12 times 10 divided by 2, which is 60. So to work out the pressure, so P is going to equal 180 divided by 60, so P equals 3 newtons per centimetre squared. For the next question, question 19, it says, in a sport, the number of points is directly proportional to the number of wins. On the diagram, sketch the graph to show the relationship. Now, when something is directly proportional, it basically means that it's going to be increasing. So the graph is actually going to be going upwards. So starting from 0, what we need to do is simply draw a straight line that basically starts at 0. So the straight line could be anywhere. As long as it's got positive gradient, then that's absolutely fine. So I could draw my straight line like that. I could draw it like this. I could draw my line like that. Could draw it like that. So the only criteria we've got to look at is that it's got to start at 0. So it's got to start at the origin. Start at the origin. It's got to have positive gradient. So in other words, it's got to be going upwards, and it's got to be a straight line. So as long as it hits those 3 requirements, you're going to get that single mark. So moving on to question 20, which refers to loci, it says using a compass and a ruler, or ruler and a compass, show the region inside the grid that is, and we've got 2 sort of constraints or 2 conditions that we need to satisfy or represent in our diagram. Now the first one is that it's got to be less than 4 centimeters away from A, and that it's got to be closer to B than C. Now in terms of loci points around a point, well, that's going to be just a circle of radius 4 centimeters around point A. So if you set your compass, again, just do a very, very poor diagram of a compass. And there is our pencil, and here is our pin. Then all we need to do is just set the distance between the pin and the pencil to 4 centimeters, which is basically going to be 4 of these little squares. And then what we need to do is draw a circle. And I'm going to do my best to do just that. So let's just set up our circle around 4, and then what I'm going to try and do is just make this go up to 4, which is there. This needs to be 4 as well. Let me just stretch it out a little bit more. Bottom, like so. So there is our circle. Now anything, so here in terms of the region, it needs to be inside that circle. Now the next thing we need to do is, for the second constraint, is to do what we call a perpendicular bisector, which is basically drawing a line that is exactly halfway between B and C. Now to do this, what you need to do is set your compass. Now it just needs to be more than halfway between B and C. And what you're then going to do is, with your compass point, you are going to put the pin on B, and you're going to draw an arc somewhere in between B and C. So it should look something that looks like this. Then, without touching your compass or adjusting your compass, you're then going to put your pin on C and then swing your compass so you draw a second arc. But then from that second arc, what you've created are 2 intersection points, which look like this. And then what you then need to do is, with a ruler, is then draw a straight line going through each of those 2 points. So it should look something like that. Now what you should find is, now what we're looking for is an area that is closer to B than it is to C. So we need to find or highlight the area that's inside the circle, but closer to on the top side of that green line than it is the other. So what we're looking for on this diagram is going to be this region here, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to label that as R. So in other words, to get the full marks, what we need to do, and we need to make sure we don't rub out your construction line, so make sure it looks like this. So we're looking for the area that's above the straight line, but inside the circle. So looking at question 21, it says that Beth drives 200 miles for 4 hours, and she drives the first 18 miles at an average speed of 36 miles per hour. And the question is asking us to work out the average speed of the rest of her journey. Now the actual question is asking us to work out speed. Now to work out speed, what I need to do is I need to know what the distance is, and I need to know what the time is. So looking at the distance left, so the distance left is going to be 200 minus 18, which is 182 miles. Now in terms of the time left, well, to work out how long this first section took, it's going to be 18 divided by the speed, which is 36. So it's distance divided by speed equals time. Now 18 divided by 36 is 0.5 hours. So in other words, it's half an hour. Now I'm going to keep the time in hours because I want to work out what miles per hour is, not miles per minute. So in terms of the time left, what I've got to do 4 take away 0.5, which is 3.5. And then to work out the average speed, all I've got to do is divide those two numbers. So it's going to be 182 divided by 3.5. And if I type that into my calculator, I get the correct answer of 52 miles per hour. Now moving on to our question 22, it then says the diagram shows a rectangle ABDE and a right angle triangle ABC. And it says that A to C is 17 centimeters and B to C is 8 centimeters. It also tells us that B to C is the ratio of 1 to 2 with C to D. So this distance here, I'll just mark it from B to C, is half the size of C to D. Now, so if this is 8, this red, purple line, maroon line is going to be twice as big, so that's going to be 16 centimeters. And that's that distance there. Now, to work out the area of the rectangle, which is what the question is asking for, I need to know what the base times the height is going to be. Now, the base is going to be 8 plus 16, which is 24 centimeters. So this length here is 24. So the next thing I've got to do is I need to work out what the height of this rectangle is. Now using the triangle and it being right angle, what we need to use is Pythagoras. So to find the height, I need to use Pythagoras. Now how do I do that? Well, if I just take the triangle out of the diagram, this is 17, this is 8, and this is going to be x. So again, labeling the sides of the triangle C, and then we're going to call this A and B. So what I've got is I've got x squared plus 8 squared equals 17 squared. So x squared equals 17 squared, take away 8 squared. And so x squared equals, and again, if I just go from my calculator, again, you might be doing this a completely different way, but you should end up with the same answer. So 17 squared, take away 8 squared equals 225. And if I then square root 225, I get an answer of 15. So this length here is 15. So therefore, the area of the rectangle is going to be 15 times 24, which again, if I just reach for my calculator, 15 times 24 gives me an answer of 360. So here I can write 360. Then moving on to question 23. So question 23 says, in a sport, injury time is added, played at the end of a match. This sounds like a few Man U games in terms of the last ones. So it says the table shows the injury time of T minutes or Fergie time played in 380 matches. So question 23a says, circle the two words that describe this data. Now, for this, we can say that it's going to be in terms of continuous or discrete. Now, continuous data is numbers that can be any number within a given range, and discrete is where it can only be certain numbers. Now, in terms of time, that could be any amount of time. It could be in terms of its accuracy within a given range. So it's definitely going to be continuous rather than discrete. Now, for the other one, you can see straight away that the data is grouped. So then that's going to be our second option. Now the question 23b then says which class interval contains the median. Now here we've got 380 matches and we need to divide that by 2. And if I divide that by 2, what do I get? Well, I get 190. So that's, I'm trying to find where the 190th game is going to be. So I've got 59. So it's a bit like doing commutative frequency. So to work this out, what I then need to do is find which group will the 190th game and what category will it fit in. So here I've got 59 and then I've got 158. So if I add 59 to that, then my median is going to fall within that group. So it's going to be in the group of, so if I just do my working out, 380 divided by 2 is 190. And which group does that fall in? Well, it falls in the group where t is between 2 and 4, inclusive of 4. So I can actually write those numbers down. So let's just be a little bit neat and realise that was there. And there you go. Now the next question then says 23c, what percentage of the matches had more than 6 minutes of injury time? So for this, what I need to do is add up these two amounts. So it's going to be, I don't know why I've rubbed that out. So let's just bring that back. Oh. Where have we gone? Here. So in terms of these two numbers, so I need to add those two numbers up. So 12 plus 45. So let's just do that. So 12 plus 45 is 57. Now because I want the percentage, I've got to do 57 over the total number of games, which reminded me was 380. And I then need to multiply that by 100. Now if I type that into my calculator, 57 divided by 380 equals, multiply that by 100, I get an answer of 15%. Then moving on to question 24, it says x is an integer where x is between -4 and 2 inclusive of 2. And then the second one is where x is between 2 and 9 where x is plus 3. It says work out the possible values of x. Now from this, our first inequality, x is an integer, so it's got to be a whole number. So the whole numbers between -4 and 2, inclusive of 2, is going to be -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Now for this, what we do is to find the lower and upper range, what I then need to do is find the possible value. So all I've got to do here is I need to take away 3. So if I've gone for minus, so let's just go for the second one. So I've got 2x plus 3 is less than 9. So if I want to try and get x by itself in the middle, so I take away 3 from both of these numbers. So what I've got is I've got -1x and 6. Now in terms of this, looking at this inequality, what are the possible values of x? Well, they could be -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what the question is asking me is which numbers appear in both this list here and this list here. Now the numbers that appear in both are -1, 0, 1 and 2. Now for question 25, it says Joe and Kyle share the amount of money in the ratio of 7 to n. Joe gets 35% of the money. Work out the value of n. Now for this, what we need to work out is that 35% of this total amount. So for this, what we need to do is that if 35% is equal to, so let's just label this up, 7 to n, and that's percent, and this is Kyle. So 7 parts equals 35%. So that means that 1 part is going to equal 5%. And from this, we want to work out how many parts there are in total. So here we can do 100 divided by 5 gives me 20. So there are 20 altogether. And if Joe has got 7, then Kyle must have 13. Now that's just one way of working this out. We could obviously then work out what another ways of working out, but you should still get the correct answer of 13. Now moving on to our next question. which is question 26. It says circle the reciprocal of 4. Now the word reciprocal just means 1 over, so it's 1 over 4. Now 1 over 4 we should know is the same as 0.25. Now moving on to question 27. The question says x to y is 1 to 3, and it's asking us to circle the right equation or correct equation. So here we've got x to y, and we've got the ratio of 1 to 3. Now if I divide those two things, so that x equals over 1 equals y over 3, well, to make y the subject, and as you can see I've got y the subject in each of these 4 options, what I need to do is take the 3 over to the side by multiplying 3, so I end up with y equals 3x, or 3x equals y, and that as an option is the very first one. Now for question 28 says that a linear sequence starts 11, 21, 31, 41, and the question is asking us to find the nth term. Now for this all we need to do is work out what the difference is between each of the terms, which is positive 10 or plus 10. So I'm going to end up with plus 10 n in my formula, and then the next thing I then need to do is then work out what do I need to do to get from the difference to the first term. Well, I need to add 1, so then the answer is going to be 10n plus 1, and that ends this paper. Now we'll put the grade boundaries for this individual paper in the description below, so once you've marked it you can tally up your score to see what grade you would have earned.